program, he wants to know how is it, how do we do it? Do we go to them or do they come? It's a combination of both. So we do health coaching, which is more personal, but we also do community-based programs, which is more general. So the community-based programs we have on campus, so like we have strategically planned diabetes undone programs, strategically planned dinner with a doctor programs, strategically planned depression recovery programs that we run every semester, and then we invite the entire communities to come out to those. From those now, you get personal health coaches. So we train our faculty and our students to be health coaches as well. So as we get those contacts now, they realize, I need more help. Then we assign each one a personal health coach, and then they go into their homes now and health coach them. And some people might say, I don't want people coming to my house, so they might meet us on campus. So you get a combination of both. Now, just last semester alone, we have 40 people that we're health coaching, and almost every single one has translated to a Bible study. So the health coaching program, it is probably the most effective way of bridging the gap for spiritual things, because it's now personal. They're sharing their personal life with you. They're sharing their pains with you. They're sharing their depression program with you. They're sharing a lot of things. So that same guy that I mentioned that says, I was born a Baptist and I'll die Baptist. Before I was leaving, I said, look, we've covered a lot of things, and this church has a lot of programs that will be helpful for you. Now I said, how often do you go to your church? Well, he said, to be honest, I haven't gone in a couple of years. And then I said, I just spoke to him frankly. I said, look, you've seen the church here. To me, it seems like a good fit. They're offering cooking classes. They're offering personal health coaches. Then I said, if I were you personally, I think this is a good church to join. and then he just accepted and said yes. So once you get into their homes and their personal space and they begin to open up to you, then you have more opportunity to share more direct. I knew him enough that I could be more direct. To me, perfect church. He says, I agree. And that was it. So once you get to the health coaching, it breaks down the barriers a little bit more. Yes?
Are you offering all of those programs to the community for free?
The cooking classes, I think they charge like $5. The Diabetes Undone program, they have to pay. Because they have to pay for the materials, but they only pay for the materials. We do have scholarship programs, but we do want everyone to put something in, because because the program does cost money. The books cost and so on and so forth. So the majority of people, I think the Diabetes On program is about $80 or something like that. Most people pay it. The Depression Recovery program is about $150, whatever the price range is, and it's material cost. But even in our scholarships, we want everyone to pay at least 50%. And the reason is you don't want people to start coming, just take the books, and then never show back up. So the fact that they have to put in, then it drives them to continue to come. There's other programs that we do have for free on campus as well. We do health lectures, dinners with a doctor. I forgot to mention, I have a Tuesday night Bible study now that I do every Tuesday as well. And for that Tuesday night Bible study, I think we have about 12 people or 10 people coming consistently. So those programs are free. We still put out, do a light meal for them, and they come out and so on. So there's a combination of both, but the programs that cost us money, then we put that expense on them. Same thing with the yards. Let me just mention this too. So there are special cases where we pay for equipment and paint and so on and so forth for certain people who see that they're severely underprivileged. But we also want the community to participate. So if we're going to their homes and they need materials to carry forward the work, we don't supply the materials. We just supply the labor. We do have rakes and forks and tools that we use all the time, weed eaters and stuff like that we've raised funds for initially to make sure that we have those available for the community to use for them. But if they need personal things done that requires funding, they're the ones that fund it. We just supply the labor. Yes?
In the beginning, when you knock to the doors, you go to every house or just the need or more?
It's every door in their community. Now, some of the communities, I could tell you that when I mapped it out, in my mind, I'm thinking 250 people, we have to spread out. So we're spread out. If I go back to the chart, you can see we're spread out in quite a few towns. But because of that, because we spread out so much, there's so many nearby towns that has never been touched. So we're kind of in a... Oh, so let me repeat the question. So the question was, do we go to every home in those communities? So to answer the question, there's a lot of homes that have not been touched yet. Because in Weimar, just in Weimar alone, because the way we're doing the work is not a speedy work. Like Jenny, you can see that I've been working with her for 3 years. I've been going to her house for 3 years. We have people that's been going to the house for a year, people that's been going to the house for 6 months. So once you see something in someone and you see that, I'm impressed to stay with this person, we're not just rushing off from house to house. So you start off initially to try to find the right kind of contact, and then you kind of stick with that person to get to know them, because the entire goal is to get to know them, to become friends with them, and then as a result now, that breaks down the barriers and give you opportunities to reach them with spiritual things. So there's a lot of houses that have not been touched, and we're a little bit more spread out than I would have desired initially. If I knew that it wouldn't have been if I knew that we were going to cover such smaller territories, I would have actually brought them closer to Weimar. So we go, a little bit further out, 15 miles or so, which is about 15 minutes. But we could have actually stayed within 7 to 10 minutes and would have had plenty to do. Yes, I see 2 hands. Go there first and then over there.
How has it worked in more affluent areas and subdivisions, homes that are 250 to 500,000?
There's none of those, by the way. In California, the houses are...
Oh, sorry. Translate that to California prices.
California starts at 500,000 and then goes... But what we do, we take a different approach. We just we tell them what we're doing, and then we ask them if they want to assist. So we actually have some of those people that's assisting as far as donation-wise. And with the health programs, they'll still come out. They'll still come out to our Diabetes Undone program. They'll still come to our Depression Recovery program and so on and so forth. But instead of trying to provide a need, we ask them if they want to help to provide needs for the community. So we kind of switch it up a little bit. But we still offer the health programs, and that seems to still work.
Narlon, I know Weimar has a lifestyle center, so how have you worked around that as well, with the lifestyle sessions and all these kind of things?
All right, so you talking about as far as the
TCI and going out and getting the staff.
Okay, so for clarity, the people from other departments, like the Lifestyle Center, they help, some of them, not all, they help whenever they can. But for the college, all the college faculty, well, all the college teachers, you have some office personnel as well that don't go out consistently. They stay and answer phones and meet people when they come. But all the college teachers, they all go out. It's a requirement for them all to go out. And all the college students, it's a requirement for them to go out. The academy students and faculty, it's also a requirement for them to go out. And the other departments, we trying to get them more involved. And we don't have as much participation externally, apart from the college and the academy, as we would like. But there's a lot of people that come voluntarily. In fact, there's some parents of village students who don't live there that actually comes to TCI every single week. But to answer your question more directly, the New Star program, some of the faculty that does help out, they come whenever they're out of session or whenever there's a gap in a session. Yeah, that's a good question. Yes, they're going to bring you the mic.
What about no soliciting signs? What's your strategy on that?
I go around it because the whole community knows who I am. So I just tell them, I give them names. I say, just go in there. If they say anything, just say Kim Douglas. You have permission from Frank Klein. You have permission from Marnie Mendoza. And it's funny you say that because it just happened last week, because we went into a community right before the Christmas concert to give out flyers. And somebody says, what are you doing in our communities? You didn't see the no soliciting sign? And before the students went, I said, if they ask you anything, just say, I know Kim Douglas, and he has given me permission. I've known Marnie Mendoza, and she's given me permission. And surely enough, he went to the guy, and he says, oh, Kim Douglas knows what he's doing. He said, oh, he does? Well, I guess I can't say anything. Kim Douglas was the mayor at the time. So that's why it's important to get to know the community. So those no soliciting signs, we just go right around them because everyone kind of knows who we are and what we're doing now. And the ones who don't, we give them names of people in the community who are leaders that they know and that they'll say, all right, well, if he's approving it, then I'm also approving it as well.
So it is a good idea to connect with the leaders
absolutely.
Before we go. Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely. And there's very few leaders that's going to say, no, I don't want you to come and help me. Because we're telling them, if there's older ladies that need to go to doctor's appointments, there's people that's underprivileged that can't afford certain things, if there's people that needs their yard clean or their house clean that they just can't do it anymore, and they're not going to say no. I mean, I've had one lady, I mean, there's so many testimonies that I could share. I went to her house and I started washing her car. And she was a Jehovah's Witness, and she was completely against religion and Adventism, both. She's a former Jehovah's Witness. And by simply washing her car, she said, because her husband had recently passed away, she said, you know what, this is the work that my husband used to do for me. And she said, you know, I've lost a husband, but I've gained an entire campus as my husband. So you get those kind of, those kind of comments as well because of the work that we're doing in the community. So it works. It just, we just have to go out there and demonstrate a natural, organic love for them, and it breaks down so many barriers. Yes, did I see a hand back there?
Hello.
Oh, yes.
How you do with the homeless people? I would like to know what you do, how do you deal with them?
Well, there's a homeless shelter in the area. So we're not able to take them in because we don't have the facilities for that. But we work with them as far as sharing with them health principles. And some of them, they don't have any computers or anything like that. So there has been times that we sat down with them, got on a computer for them, kind of helped them to look for resources in the community and different things of that nature. But we work with the local resources that they have there. There's a homeless shelter. We go there and we give them depression recovery program because, of course, being homeless, you're severely depressed. We give them good nutritional foods and talk about some of the health challenges that they have. So we're not able to take them in, but we go where they are and work with them. I see a hand back there and then back here. I see two hands back here and then we come up to Pastor Herschel. Yes?
How do you know when to withdraw from a particular, you're going into these homes, and if the soul is the goal and you recognize that this one is just not leading to a Bible study, when do you withdraw? Or what are the signs that say, well, we no longer need to keep going to this home?
Yeah, funny thing is, we haven't had that yet because most people that we work with, they already have a barrier and an obstruction up. And if you're willing to work with them patiently and they see the love of God demonstrated, then those barriers that they have, those obstructions that they have, they actually begin to break down. So it's not like we go into a home and a person is saying, I'm so open and so on and so forth. It's just the love that they see demonstrated that breaks down those walls. So to be honest, we haven't had much homes that we say, we're going to withdraw, because we recognize that we're in it for the long haul. It takes patient work. It takes a lot of prayer. It takes a lot of perseverance. So those are things that we share with the students as well. And after a time, those same persons that give the impression that you're given now, even for months, all of a sudden they go into a problem and they say, I need prayer. And they weren't open to it before. And then from that prayer now, at least a Bible study, or from that, from going in their house and health coaching them, barriers begin to break down. So I know it seems strange, but we haven't had any houses as yet that we see someone that says, that in our mind we're saying it's not going to work, because I've been patient enough to wait over 2 years for one person, and then eventually something hits. And there's two things that I teach the students when I teach them about evangelism. I said there's people that seems hardened, but if you become their friends, you're going to be exposed to two things: their afflictions and their convictions. You're not going to be in tune with them enough if you're not their friend to know when they're afflicted and when they're convicted, right? So as you become their friends, then you're going to see the conviction, or you're going to see the affliction. And when you see the affliction or the conviction, then you know it's time to strike. So you kind of learn when to strike and when not to strike. So when I've taught that to all the students, so far, we've all found either a conviction or an affliction for everyone that seems like they're not open. And then through their affliction or through their conviction, God was able to break through those barriers as well. Yes?
Just wondering about the time commitment of the leader of this project. Now, you mentioned that you were brought in specifically for this, and you do
Yes.
this full time. Is this a work that can be done by somebody that is doing this part time, or they have other things that they have to do with the organization, or would you recommend putting somebody that's going to put full time into this as a leader?
Yeah, the person that leads it, I think they should, well, technically I'm part-time, even though I do full-time hours, but technically I'm part-time, but I end up doing full-time hours anyway. But if a person could commit, like the person that's heading it, they have to commit, I'd say, 20 to 30 hours a week to this work. Now, the rest of the people probably commit about 3 hours a week as far as direct TCI time at Weimar. And then, as they begin to build relationships, most students try to schedule most of their appointments with the communities on Wednesday afternoons. It works for that area because it's more of a country area. There's a lot of retirees and different things of that nature. But if you're in a more affluent area, then the hours that we have specifically would not be good for those affluent areas. So the ones that have contacts that it doesn't work within that time frame, they're willing to sacrifice their own personal time now to go and do the programs with them. So everyone is required at 3 hours, but then you have people that operate outside of 3 hours to go to homes and still give Bible studies. In addition to that, we also hired 2 Bible workers, health coaches / Bible workers. So the contacts that our students and faculty from the college are not able to get to because of work schedule and so on and so forth, the Bible workers are able to meet those needs. Or either myself or Pastor Don. So we have a little bit more flexibility than the students and college faculty. Did I answer the question? Yes. All right, yes.
Yeah, you keep mentioning that you've been working with some people in the community for over 2 years. In your experience, what works best? Going out there every Wednesday afternoon, then seeing them, making an appointment to go and see them? Or how often do you see them then? If you find a worthy contact, somebody that might need a little bit more help or a little bit more open, do you go and see them every Wednesday, or do you go once a month, or how do you keep that relationship going, or that contact going?
Yes, that's a good question. So keep in mind that in each territory, you have different teams, right? So I don't take that whole team to see that lady every Wednesday.
No.
I just take one person with me. And then you might have another team that has another contact that they see every Wednesday or every other Wednesday. And then you have another team in that same territory that has another contact that they might see every Wednesday. And, or if something doesn't work out, then they'll visit other contacts and so on and so forth. But if you have a real good contact, you definitely want to see them every Wednesday. Like with her, it first started off by me seeing her like once a month, and then once every 2 weeks, and then it finally came down to once a week. So as you get to know them better, you kind of see what the needs are and see what the schedules are like, and then, from there you can kind of see, well, maybe I should see her once a week or twice a week, or every 2 weeks, or even, once a month. But with me and her now, because we're close friends, I actually visit her more than once a week. I go to hospitals with her. I go to doctor's appointments with her. I do quite a bit of different things with her and some of my other contacts as well. And some of our Bible workers, the 2 Bible workers that I have, they visit some people multiple times per week as well.
So as you get to know your people and you're spending time with them, what is your saturation capacity? A group can only see so many people. You can't reach out to more than what you can visit every week. So what have you found your group's capacity is? How many houses can they cover in 1 week? As a group, you've got 8 to 10 people in a group?
Yeah, some have 14.
Yeah. So that's 2 by 2 would be 7 in a team, basically.
Yeah, so each group is different, and some people have more fertile territory than others. So there's some people that, because they have so much work actively already, they don't even do any more door-to-doors. They're at capacity with a solid contact, so all they do is visit their contacts, and that's it. There's some group that's in territories that they might have 1 or 2 good contacts, and the rest of the time they're spending surveying and trying to get more contacts. So it's different dynamics for each group. But to answer the question more directly, you find that as each group kind of assess their territory and get a feel for the people there, I leave it with the group leaders to determine, how much they're going to spread themselves out. But one of the things that we encourage is, this is not just, just trying to get to as many houses as possible. If you find good contacts that you have in good conversation with, and they're open to you helping them and open to conversing and so on and so forth, then continue to work with that person and see if the barriers will break down from that perspective. So we don't rush them. We don't say, well, you haven't hit 100 houses or you haven't hit 20 houses. We just want to make sure that they develop solid contacts. And all the groups now, especially the leaders, most of the leaders have been there the entire 2.5 years that we started the program. So they're pretty astute as to, how long I should tarry at this house, or how long I should work in this particular community, or do I need to move to a different community within my the area that is mapped out for me. So the group leaders and the students kind of work together in their community. Now, where I step in is, if there's some groups that's just struggling to get things going all together, I'll go and visit the territory with them. And sometimes the territory is just too spread out, sometimes it's too affluent and they can't find anyone home during that time. So now as the leader of the entire program, might have to relocate them to a different territory. So that's how we kind of work it.
Okay, just a question piggybacking on the question the brother had back there.
Mm-hmm.
On initial contact, if somebody says, they'd like you to do their yard or something, and y'all come back the following week and do the yard, after that first contact, do y'all call them again afterwards, or do y'all wait to see if they call y'all?
Yeah, so what we try to do is we try to make sure that someone is actually speaking with the person as the yard is being cleaned, because we kind of share with them we want someone to be home. And we want to have, dialogue and conversation. We want to teach our young people to give back to their communities when they graduate from college. So one of the things that I said is we have students that's going to be doctors and lawyers doctors and nurses and businessmen and psychologists and so on and so forth. But one thing that we want all of our students to have in common is that when they leave Weimar, that they learn to give back to their communities. And I think one of the best ways to do that is to make sure that they're communicating to the people that they're working with. So we try to make sure that someone is conversing with the people as people are working. So that person now could kind of get a feel of, is this a person that we could follow up with? Is this a person that might be interested in other health works and so on and so forth? But there's a lot of people who we've cleaned their yard once and that was it. Or we've cleaned their yard twice and it never moved to anything further than that. Now, if they still call us to come back and clean their yards and we have the availability, we're not going to say no. So we kind of leave that to the group leaders, but I don't want it to seem like every single house that we go to is something that translates to a long-term relationship, but we keep working until we find those long-term relationships. Yes. Oh, Pastor Herschel here. Okay. Oh, but go ahead and then we'll come to Pastor Herschel.
After the baptism, for example, are you still going to, I have two questions. After the baptism, are you still following with them? And the second question, probably the one that I personally wants to know is, I know the wisdom has to come from God in knowing every situations. So how do you truly emphasize the connections of the group, especially the group leader, the prayer life of them that you emphasize? Because the wisdom to know in every situation is from Him.
Yeah, so let me answer. The first question was
Follow-up after their baptism.
Follow-up after so for the follow-up after their baptism, we actually have a class that we integrate them in. And it's taught by our clinic leaders, so they still continue to use the health message. So they have a health nugget, then they have a spiritual talk, and so on and so forth. So we haven't just thrown them into our regular Sabbath school yet. We're still working with them in a small group. And then I have a class that I teach the more advanced Adventist message. So some of them now are coming to my class, which is more advanced Adventist message. So we still integrate them from that perspective. But we also continue to visit with them, and they have become a part of the campus now. So it's like most people know them. And they come on campus. They come to the cafeteria to have lunch, and they come to a store to buy food. They come on a campus to take hikes. So they've integrated themselves into the campus atmosphere. So they've kind of indulged themselves from that perspective. But like me with Jenny, I don't have to visit her every single week now. but I still make sure that we're in constant contact, and I still do go and visit her, and I still ask her, what are the needs that she have, and other people on the campus have taken her on as well. So it's kind of like a holistic approach to make sure that we integrate all the contacts. That was the first question. What was the second one again?
About the prayer life or the emphasis that each leader spent.
Okay. All right, so another thing that we do, and as you said it eloquently, that there's no way of fully assessing that, but another thing that we do is at the beginning of each outing, our TCI time is from 2 to 5:45. So from 2 to 2:30, what we have is a short nugget, and we're emphasizing, spiritual life. We're emphasizing not to lose focus on what the goal is. We're emphasizing, have the right motive in doing this. So we're constantly giving those lectures, and then we also spend time in personal prayer. And we do the same thing for the Wednesday night prayer meeting. So our TCI time and our Wednesday night prayer meeting is kind of a continual training to make sure that the minds are in proper perspective. Yeah. Yes, Pastor.
Yes, so I was interested in the 4-hour training that you give to, at some point at the beginning, and if that's for both students and workers at the same time. And then also I was interested in what you just mentioned about the prayer meeting and just how that works with students and workers.
Yeah, so the training, what I did is I did a few things. Number one, I did how to study the Bible, how to give Bible studies, and how to do surveys door to door. And I taught general principles on door to door, how to
all
deal.
part of the 4 hours?
Oh, say it again?
You mentioned about 4 hours.
Yes, in about 4 hours. Now, we do have follow-up training, but it was a concentrated 4 hours that we did the training before they began to go out. That doesn't mean that they know everything. They do need to go and make some mistakes and have some positive experiences and negative experience. They come back, they get retrained, and so on and so forth. They have their group leaders that's with them as well to kind of guide them through the process. We try to make sure that within each group we have somebody that's pretty solid. But I'm not as concerned about the hours as I'm concerned about the fact that we don't want to spend too much time training and not as much time going out, because it gets wearisome. So the main thing is just to balance out training and going out, rather than just train, and there's no practical application of the things that they're learning. So that's the first aspect. As far as the prayer meeting now, we keep it very simple. We start off with some beautiful songs, and then we have different people from different groups come up and share their experience about what their day was like in the community, who they met, what it was like, and so on and so forth. That encourages other groups. It encourages other church members who might not be a part of TCI. And then we have like a short thought for like 10 to 15 minutes to close out and prayer to close out the prayer meeting. So it's 1 hour, songs, testimonies, thought, and then prayer. And that's how we do it.
That's in addition to you go out from 3 to 6, right? You mentioned?
We go out from 2 to 5:45, which the actual door time is probably 2:30 to 5:30, something.
And then
like that.
prayer meeting is directly right after that?
Prayer meeting is at
Everybody goes that comes to it? Is it mandatory or?
It's mandatory for the students and college faculty. It's mandatory for the students, and that's at 6:45. So Wednesdays is a long day that's focused on TCI.
Oh, one other question. How does that affect the next day's studies for the students?
One of the things that we encourage the teachers is not to have any exams on Thursdays. So that way students are not distracted during their TCI time. So that's one of the things that we said, no exams on Thursdays. And the teachers are able to cooperate with that. And another thing that we encourage there is that they learn the principles of going to bed early and rising up early. So most of them will still go to bed and get up early in the morning to do whatever studies that they need to do. So we try to build in our schedules as much as possible. And Thursdays is a pretty light day as well. Their day on Thursday also ends at about, I think at 2:30 as well. No, it ends at, I think it ends at 2:30 as well. So Thursday is a pretty light day for them as well. All right, yes, we have one more here.
Waiting for a mic.
Okay. Well, you could go ahead and ask and I can repeat it.
I was going to say, this works well in an institute setting where you've got a group of students that you're working with. What's the dynamic if you're in a regular church setting where people are going to work every day? Just a little brief description of what that's like.
Okay.
No problem.
You heard it?
I did, but they want you to repeat it for recording.
Okay. Being at an institute, you've got a body of students that you can utilize to go out. But in a church setting, just out in the community, how does that program work with people that are working every day?
Yeah, and we get that question quite frequently. And as I mentioned, there's a few churches that's actually doing it. One of the main things I tell them is only offer what you have the capacity to do. So obviously, when you have 250 people at your disposal every single Wednesday, you can offer a lot more than 5 or 10 people with a limited schedule. So the church members will have to kind of come together and find out, do we have a set time that we all go out, or is it 4 people go out on this day and 4 other people go out on that day? The dynamics have to kind of be worked out within. But the main thing is with the limitations, only offer what you could realistically fulfill. And that's everything that we offer, we can literally fulfill it on a larger scale. It must be the same thing on a smaller scale. Whatever you offer, just make sure that it can be literally fulfilled. And that saves you from a lot of problems. We have, it's 8:55. I don't want to take you past 9 o'clock, so I'll take a couple more and then ensure that we end at 9. Yes.
Okay. This is about the diabetes undone. I know that diabetes undone is at least 8 weeks long.
Mm-hmm.
So how long and how often do you guys do it?
We do it once a semester. So every semester, which is twice a year.
Okay. How do you keep people from quitting?
Oh, say it
The
again?
attendees. How do you keep the attendees from quitting? Because in my experience, I actually have 2 more kids at home.
Uh-huh.
We started a large number of people, but toward the middle or something, they quit. I actually work with Pastor Don in Luminitza. He used to be my pastor. Yes.
Well, you want to know the trick? It's 2 things. Yes. Feed them and friend them.
Well, definitely you have to cook for that.
Well, you can do popcorn and smoothies. It could be light things, but at everything that we do, we have a light meal. Every single thing that we do, we have a light meal. That keeps people coming. So feed them and friend them, and they'll keep coming.
Thank you. Tell Pastor Don hi for me.
I will.
I just have a comment, and this was something I learned from the pastor when we were in Gettysburg. He goes out and does the Bible studies, but his primary purpose is not to create them to be a member of the Adventist church. It's to show the love of Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And then once they know the love of Christ, the Holy Spirit convicts them, and then they join the church and they get baptized.
Amen.
So my whole point is, if we go out and do this, it's not to create an Adventist, it's to create a brother and sister in Christ, and
That's
Christ
right.
will do that.
Yeah. So, and you're right. The entire objective is friendship evangelism. You become their friend. And as I said, most of the contacts that we have that translate to Bible studies is not that we just one day just say, you know what, do you want a Bible study? We just become their friends. And then organically it translates to spiritual things. So it's not like we go in there and say, you know what, by Thursday I must ask them for a Bible study. And if they say no, that's it. Organically, it just translates to spiritual things. So you're absolutely right, and it works. Yes?
Do you have in your place around in your zone, where you live, colporteurs, and how you can relate with the colporteurs? Because if there is colporteurs, they know what in every house what happened. Sometimes,
Yes. Now, the way we did it, and I'm not saying it has to be done that way. We specifically did not do literature distribution, and we specifically did not do colporteur ministry. And I'm not to say that the colporteur ministry can't be done if it's done in the right way, but the way it is done as is now, I think it could create obstructions rather than opening doors that the way we want it. Because our goal is to just go out and make friendships in a relationship. By going and offering spiritual books and different things of that nature, it could kind of take away the purpose in which you're trying to, what you're trying to accomplish. Now, there's some contacts that it might work and it might be a blessing, but for the plans that we have holistically, our main objective is to just go out and make friends. And if you go out and somebody sees steps of Christ, they might say, no.
You didn't get me there. My question is this. If there is colporteurs that are working around you,
okay,
you don't have any contact with them that they can tell you if there is some needs in some houses? This is what I am telling you.
Got it.
Not that they, no.
Okay, got it. Colporteurs don't do those areas because it's more rural. So call porters mainly do like high concentrated city areas, so we don't have that issue where we are. Does that make sense? So we're in a very rural area. So call porters, much call porter doesn't come there because it's a country area, there's long distances between houses and so on and so forth. So it's not a heavy area where a lot of call porters come.
Well, maybe here, because when we were, in Switzerland, we go, especially the rural places, not in the cities almost.
Yeah.
And also how you relate, I wanted to say also, with the business. You don't visit that, you don't come to see them, and if they have some needs or no, or only houses.
Yeah, we only do houses. Now, the businesses, we work with them, they do know who we are. So we work with them like when we're having certain events. The businesses will house our flyers for us, and they'll be a distributor for us. And we invite the businessmen out to our community events. And they'll come to like our concerts. Most of the time they don't come during the week because, I guess because of their business endeavors. But like when we have our Christmas concert and our spring concerts and so on and so forth, we normally get all the community leaders and businessmen and various people of that nature to come out on those events. But generally we don't do business unless we're advertising an event.
You mean you don't relate with the needs of the community? Let's say, that there is some business, and you have some contacts and you say, look, we have some needs of the community, you want to participate, you want to help?
Oh, yes. Yeah, there's another ministry that does that. There's another church that has something that's called the Food Train, and that's a big ministry in that area as well. And what they do is all the businesses in those surrounding, I shouldn't say all, but a good amount of the businesses in the surrounding area, they participate. So they provide resources, food, and different things of that nature to give back to the community. So because there's another ministry that does that, and we kind of work together, we don't do that portion of it. But that is a good idea. If it's something that, another ministry like what we have close by is not doing it, then it's good to solicit them as well. Because then you get them engaged and them involved in giving back to their community. So that's an excellent idea. But we do have another ministry that does the same thing, so we don't do that portion. Yes?
Yeah, do you have special groups that do cooking classes, one group that do cooking classes, one group that do teaching or whatever, or every group do everything?
Every group do everything. Now, once in the fall semester, we have our health program, that's our medical missionary training program for 4 months. We normally do a lot more health coaching, so we kind of specialize them in health coaching because that's one of the main objectives that we want them to get. So that's why I mentioned that this semester we have 40 health coaching contacts, because that's the majority of what the health students are doing. So if we were to have one specialty group, that would be it. But we do also have a health team, and the health team, it has the 2 Bob workers, it has myself, it has Pastor Don, it has a secretary, and it has a person that does New Start Global. So our schedule is a little bit more flexible to meet the needs of the community. So when we do health expos and cooking classes and so on and so forth, on campus, then that's normally the health team. But when we're doing it in the communities, the team that's in that community does it. When they're doing anything that they're doing in those communities, those team does it as well. There's time that they might say we need some help, and we might put 2 teams together, or the health team might go and help them. But for the most part, each team are self-governed. All right. It is now 9:03, and I said 9 o'clock. So if there's one more, I'll take one more question, and then we'll close.
So you're giving these trainings, right, to several areas. I don't know if you do that, or is it possible that you can train people from here and then they give the training here, or how does it work? How can we get that training that you give?
Oh yes, absolutely. That will work as well. I've done it with Yuchi Ponce a little bit, and in fact they want me to come back and do it. So I could either work with someone. I have books that I use and so on and so forth. But that could be worked out. Yeah, that won't be a problem. I'll be more than happy to come, or I'll be more than happy to train someone to do the training as well. Or you might have someone here already that might be able to know how to do the training already. Yes.
Okay, so thank you for the brothers who came here.